Do you struggle or are you concerned with how to organize and how to store your sewing patterns? Don't worry, I got you covered. Say goodbye to your paper patterns. Today, we're going to upgrade our sewing room to a projector. This is the sewing upgrade you didn't know that you needed. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Care, and I use projectors for my patterns. I'm sorry. I know I discussed paper patterns and I discussed a little bit on how to store them. And I'm sorry if I gave you the impression that that's what I do all the time. I used to when I first started with sewing clothes. I don't do that anymore. I found for me using a projector, because I make so many wearable hugs during the holiday season. I mean, I'm making 16 shirts this year. That's a lot. That's a lot of paper patterns because not everybody is the same size. So I upgraded in the beginning to using a projector. Don't worry. This is something that even if you are technologically challenged, because I surely am, this is something that I can help you with. This is something that will actually be a real game changer for you because there's so many different options with it. There's 3 reasons why I use a projector. First, it saves me time. Second, it saves me space. Third, it saves me money. I don't have to put together a new pattern or take the time to cut out another paper pattern every single time I want to make a garment. I don't have to store every single pattern that I want to make in case I want to make that same one again. So it is saving me a lot of space. And it does save me money because I'm not having to buy ink for the printer. I'm not having to buy paper to print it out. I'm not having to buy paper to trace the pattern onto. And by saving me time and saving me space, it's also saving me money. This does not have to be complicated. There are many different options, very price conscious and very splurge. I keep it very simple. I did not splurge a lot on this. I use what's called an ultra short throw projector. So if you use a regular projector, it has to be mounted onto the ceiling so that it can project onto your table. With an ultra short throw, I can have it on the side and it projects directly onto my table. And when we go up to the sewing room, I'll show you all of that. This is perfect, especially if you need to take down your sewing supplies every once in a while, if you're using a dining room table or a kitchen table or the living room. It makes it very easy. Do not go and buy an ultra short throw projector off Amazon or any high-tech store. Just don't do it. You are looking at between $1,000 to $2,000 for the projector. I got mine on eBay for $120. I got my Chromebook that I use to bring up my patterns on for $199 on a Black Friday special. It works perfectly fine for the usage, and that's it. That's what I use. You can get an overhead projector, which is just a standard regular movie projector that you would buy. I always refer to Amazon just because it's a lot easier. You can buy off Amazon and you just hook that up to the ceiling. You can get those as cheap as $50 and then you can operate them off your phone. You don't have to make this complicated. And it's really, really simple to set it up. You do not have to go through this huge calibration method. I'm going to show you my quick method of calibrating the machine every single time without having to go through a 15-minute to hour-long process. A quick 5-minute setup, and I'm ready to go. So let's go up to the sewing room. Grab your coffee. You know I have mine. Since we're going into the sewing room, you know we're doing the closed lid. No open containers in the sewing room. And oh yeah, something's a little bit different about me. No, I did not get a perm. I've decided since we're in the summer months here in Pennsylvania, I'm not going to fight as much with the humidity with my curly hair. It is naturally curly. I straighten it all the time, and I'm going to attempt to do what they call the curly girl method. So we'll see how that goes, and you'll see the evolution of my hair through the summer. So let's head up to the sewing room. I'll see you there in a minute. Welcome back to the sewing room. This is how I get started using my PDF patterns with my projector. This is not anything fancy. I don't have any big setup within my Chromebook, keeping my files. I use everything off of the PDF pattern website. They all store it for me. When I use Ellie and Mac, it stores it for me. Same thing when I use Sinclair patterns or patterns for pirates or made for mermaids. They all keep your patterns there for you if you want, so that you don't have to store them on the computer. I'm a very, very big supporter of the keep it simple method. So I keep it as simple as I can for myself because life's too complicated as it is. So here, I'm just going to go and bring up the fitted tranquil tank top. So this is the tank top that we made last time. And this just brings it right up. And so here it is on the screen. So if you notice, there's these two little boxes up here. Those are, if you're printing your pattern, they help you make sure that everything is in the correct size, so that when you print it out, you're not printing it smaller than it actually is or too large. And we're going to use that as the way to calibrate our projector so that everything is the correct size. If you go on some of the Facebook sites, if you go on some of the blogs, they will go through these elaborate setups to calibrate your machine. You really don't need to do that. You can keep this as simple as you need to. You just plug in your device to your projector, and then you project it onto the pattern, onto your cutting table using the ruler to check the calibration. So from here, I'm going to turn my machine on. So here you have the pattern on my cutting table. It's on my mat, and here are the keys. So when it's the two like this, you want to look at what the measurements are. This smaller box is a 1 inch by 1 inch. This larger box is a 4 centimeter by 4 centimeter box. So you can either use your cutting mat to try to fit it in this box, or you can also grab your ruler. Now, some of them have, instead of these two little boxes, what they will have is two grids, a 4 inch by 4 inch grid. And so then you'll do the same type of thing. You will measure it out using your cutting mat and a ruler just to make sure. You always want to measure twice, cut once. And that's how we calibrate it. It's not anything fancy. I go and calibrate every single time I sew. There's really, really fancy tutorials on how to do it and get it right. No matter what, you have to go and size to this anyway. So I just save myself some effort in the beginning and just automatically size to this. By doing that, I know that this pattern that I'm using is at its correct size. So right now, this little square is too big. I'm going to show you how we make it fit. We're back on the Chromebook, and this is in a PDF reader. So this is just a standard one that came with my my Chromebook. I don't bother with any expensive ones. There's so many different ones out there. I just go for very, very simple, use what's on it, and that's it. So here's little boxes. What you want to do is increase. So you want to zoom in. And then, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I zoomed in at 50% and I know that's too big. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom down, and that brings me back to 33%. So instead of doing that, I can just type in what I want. So let's try 35. Let's see if that's a little bit better. And here we are measuring 35, and that's actually too big. So we want to go down a little bit. So I'm going to go back, put it on 32, and see if that helps. So entered in 32. Let's go back and see how it looks. Still slightly, ever so slightly too big. So I'm going to bring it right back down. I'm going to try 31. Still a little bit too big, but we're getting close. So we're pretty good here. And it looks like 30 fits perfectly in that box. So my 1 inch is done, and I would rather be like the outline be slightly on the outside of my cutting and of my ruler, just to be on the safe side. But this is pretty good. So if you want, you can go ahead and check the 4 centimeter by 4 centimeter if you'd like. I actually don't have a different ruler, so I'm not going to do that. But that's as simple as it is. So then some of the fancy PDFs you can go in, and not every pattern has this. If they're labeled projector patterns instead of A0, the projector patterns will have built in the ability within the PDF reader to print out the layer that you want. This one right now is not. This is an A0, so this one I don't have the ability in the PDF reader. Some PDF patterns will have that capability, some don't. So you want to pay attention when you're looking at that as well. It does make it a little bit easier, but you don't automatically have to have it. And honestly, because I blend sizes to begin with, it's easier just to have all of these going on. What I will do is bring up on my phone the actual pattern as well, so that I can see. Let me scroll up here so I can show you. Right down in here, it's kind of hard, it's hard to read because it's so small, but right in here is the, let me scroll it down a little bit. Right in here is the key. So I will bring that up larger on my phone so that I'm able to know exactly which color I need. And here's a little tip. If you're having trouble seeing the fabric color when you're cutting on your fabric, what you can do is take a piece of paper and put it over. So say you're using a very dark fabric where it's harder to see the colors, although what I will do is turn off the lights, and I'll always count and double check to make sure that these are okay. If I'm really having trouble, my eyesight isn't quite so friendly, if I'm tired from doing a lot of electronic work for the day, I'll put a piece of paper over it just so that I can see, and then I'll just take my rotary cutter and go over it. And I'll just lay out strips of paper as I go, just to make it a little bit easier for me. That is literally everything that you need to do for calibrating the pattern. This is something that makes it very easy for you to have multiple patterns and work with multiple patterns. So I know they have a bunch of really nice, really fancy, expensive ones on the market. What is it? Joann's has one called the Ditto. And yeah, I've looked at it. It's not something that I would use because it's $600. And if I'm going to invest $600 into a device for my sewing room, I'm going to invest in another machine. I'm not going to invest in in the pattern, only because you don't need it to be so fancy. They do the same exact thing, the same exact thing. And then I'll scroll up. I have what's called an ultra short throw machine. And my machine, please, whatever you do, do not go on Amazon and buy an ultra short throw machine out of pocket. Don't do it. You are looking at, for a brand new one, you're looking at anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. It's not worth it. It is absolutely not worth it. I got mine for $120 on eBay. It is perfectly good. Do not invest a lot of money in this. You don't have to get a fancy one. If you get a regular projector, and a regular projector will work as well, you have to mount it on the ceiling somehow. And I've seen people put together different types of contraptions using PVC pipes and a shelf up above, or if people have had drop down ceilings, they've cut a hole to put it in that. That's fine. You work with whatever works best for you. I have mine with the ultra short throw because I can take it anywhere. I don't have to worry about anything. Oops, I broke my own rule. Oh. But please don't go and spend a lot of money on this. It does not have to be expensive. It does not have to be complicated. This is literally why I like this. So the ultra short throw has it boosted up and it projects onto the table so that I don't have to have it mounted up. I just have it, I know I'm so high tech. I just have it on a plastic storage bin. Seriously, it's not complicated. Really, really not. And we're back. Are you excited to try using a projector? Do you have any concerns about it? Drop me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. This is something that was a game changer for me. It really makes it a lot easier for me to do what I want to do. Now, if it's not your thing, if you don't want to play with the technology, I completely respect that. And as long as we're sewing together, that's all that matters. So I hope you guys are having a good day. I hope you have a really good week. And don't forget to hit the subscribe, and we can start sewing again soon. Cheers.